This is the Crisscross Show. I'm back and I have a new episode today, and I'm really excited for this one because I'm going to give you my opinion on the playoffs so far. I'm also going to address the NBA incidents that happened with players and fans this week. I'm also going to compare my preseason standings to the actual NBA standings and how that kind of, if that was on par. And I'm also going to answer this question. Is Ja Morant better than everyone else? All right, anyways, enjoy. Okay, so getting to the playoffs. So Memphis and Utah. We know that Memphis stole game 1 against Utah, and Utah responded back by putting up 140-something points against the Memphis Grizzlies. I said this before when I was making my predictions. I said that if Memphis played Utah, it would go 5 games in Utah's favor. As of right now, Memphis stole that game. I do believe Memphis going home with the series tied 1-1 can make this a 2-2 series as they head back to Utah for game 5. I do believe Utah will take a game in Memphis, and Memphis could possibly steal a game in Memphis. So I do believe heading back for game 5, when I hopefully do the next episode, they'll be headed to Utah tied 2-2. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Utah took advantage and just finished this series off with 4 straight wins. New York and Atlanta, it's been an interesting series to say the least. I do believe the Knicks will still win this, and I'm going to say they're going to win it in 7, because if this series goes 7 games, playing game 7 in Madison Square Garden is going to go in New York's favor. Again, we know that the Knicks won game 2 because of their fans. So I'm going to go with New York still winning in 6 or actually 7. I'm sorry. They are going to win in 7. Now, to jump into the next one, I know I'm wearing a Miami Heat jersey. I'm wearing a Duncan Robinson jersey. It just came in the mail not too long ago. I know Milwaukee is up 3-0 against the Miami Heat. But again, it's a nice jersey. I love the player. He's my 4th favorite player. So I don't give Miami Heat more than 4 or 5 games at minimum. I think Milwaukee has just destroyed them this series. Tyler Hero's been non-existent. Duncan Robinson was shut down in game 3. Bam and Jimmy have not stepped up. They've been shooting poorly this entire series. Milwaukee's defense is suffocating the Miami Heat. And I think the series is going to be over in 4 games. I really do. I think Milwaukee wants to finish a series. They want to punch the Miami Heat in the mouth for what they did to them in the bubble last year. So I do believe I give Miami no chance in game 4. It's going to be over in 4. Milwaukee in 4. Dallas and LA. Now, this one's interesting because Dallas is up 2-0, but if you really watch basketball, you should not be surprised because Dallas won the regular season series 2-1. Luka Doncic dominated the Clippers in those 3 games. And again, Dallas was playing hot towards the end of the season. Again, they were in 9th place for a long time, and they jumped all the way to the 5th seed. A lot of it had to do with the Lakers being injured. But again, Dallas jumped up. They've been hot. They've been playing well. They've kind of found their chemistry towards the end of the season. They're playing their best basketball, and it's showing. And I really think that if Dallas wins or splits in Dallas, they're going to finish the Clippers in LA. I do believe this series will go 5 games because I do believe that the Clippers will take one of these games in Dallas. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a sweep. But I'm still going with Dallas. I'm actually changing it from LA in 6 to Dallas in 5. All right, anyways, going to the Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix won game 1, and a lot of people were concerned for the Lakers. But again, Phoenix was the number 2 seed. They were favored at home, and historically speaking, LeBron is always bad in game 1. And for game 2, he always has a 60% winning percentage, which is leading the league by a mile in game 2. So currently, the Lakers are leading 2-1. They had a great game last night. Anthony Davis has scored 34 points in game 1 and 2, or in game 2 and 3. So again, the Lakers are finding their chemistry, and that's really bad for Phoenix. Phoenix is in a really bad spot. now that the Lakers have kind of found their groove. And again, Chris Paul is hurt, which is unfortunate, but they've been playing Devin Booker pretty good. They just let DeAndre Ayton get his points, but they're not going to let Devin Booker. And now that Chris Paul's hurt, it's easier to kind of defend Devin Booker because now you don't have to respect Chris Paul as a shooter because he's hurt. I'm still going to go with the Lakers in 6 because I do believe that Phoenix will steal Game 5 just to kind of survive, but I do give the Lakers a win in Game 4 to take a commanding 3-1 lead. But I'm still going with the Lakers in 6. Denver and Portland. Currently, Denver is up 2-1 against the Portland Trailblazers. Nikola Jokic has been eating in the paint when Nurkic and Cantor have been defending him. So again, you kind of got to double Nikola Jokic a little bit more. And again, I said the series is going to go 7 games with Denver winning against the Portland Trailblazers. But I still think it's going to go 7 games. Again, Game 3 was a 5-point game. Nikola Jokic ended up, I guess, getting an offensive rebound to put him up by 5 with like 6 seconds to go. So it's been a pretty close series. All games have been pretty close. But I do give Denver still winning in 7 against the Portland Trailblazers. Philadelphia and the Wizards. Philadelphia is a really great team. I think they're going to coast to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're either going to play Milwaukee or Brooklyn. I don't think anyone stands a chance against Philadelphia right now, especially Washington with Bradley Beal being hurt, Russell Westbrook being hurt, and just their shooters not really making much shots. So I do give Philadelphia winning in 4. I predicted 4 or 5, and I'm going to go 4 because if Russell Westbrook is out and Bradley Beal's running on one foot, it's as good as over for that series for Washington. So Philadelphia in 4 for me still. Brooklyn, Boston, I did say 4 or 5 for Brooklyn if I do remember. I'm going to go with Brooklyn sweeping the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics are just broken. They're done. Jason Tatum got poked in the eye, never came back. They don't really have much offensive players other than maybe Marcus Smart, but you don't want to depend on Marcus Smart making all those shots. So I am going to give Brooklyn sweeping this series. I do think it's over. Kyrie's going to play out of his mind in Boston. And again, they're just going to coast until they face Milwaukee in the second round. So as I predicted, the Eastern Conference was going to be more sweeps. And it was going to be a little bit easier for those higher seed teams to kind of get away or get, through their series. So those are my predictions on the playoffs so far and how I feel about them so far. I hope you enjoyed that segment. You know what Mr. Rodriguez loves to do when he's grading papers? Loves to enjoy it while eating a bag of Ruffles. Ruffles chips is the greatest chips in the world because they have a variety of flavors, like original, cheddar, flamin' hot barbecue, sour cream and onion, and my favorite, lime and jalapeno. Not only do Ruffles have ridges, but they also have a pretty cheap cost to them. Ruffles are so great that even star basketball players like NBA champion Anthony Davis eat them. Isn't that right, Anthony? Now enough about me. Why don't you go out and you buy these chips and just see how amazing they truly are. Have you ever been to the zoo and you read a sign that says, don't touch the wall, or don't pat the glass to get the animal mad? And, sometimes you'll see people actually patting the glass. You'll see the kid patting the glass, and you'll see the animal react, or the animal look, or the animal hit. So the reason why they put these safety signs is to not get the animal mad and for your safety. Now, something very, very similar happened in the NBA. So there was a couple of incidents with a fan spitting towards the direction of Trae Young, a fan throwing popcorn at Russell Westbrook, and some Utah fans saying things that you should never say to another human being. Now, the incident with Trae Young was very, very unfortunate because, again, the fan was sitting basically courtside. You paid a lot of money, and you just spit at another player because you just don't like them. And to me, if you pay that much money to go to a game, and I'm pretty sure the closer you sit, the different types of guidelines you have to follow, like you have to have a certain badge, or you have to have, they check you before you even walk to courtside because just to make sure you have those tickets. They don't let anybody on court. They have to check you first. So there's some different guidelines. Now, since you're so close to the court, and it's almost ridiculous because the NBA is the only sport where the fans are right there. So like the fans can literally reach out and touch a player. Now, when you pay thousands, and I'm pretty sure at a New York Knicks game, you're paying thousands to go to a basketball, even to sit courtside. Now, to me, when you're sitting that close, you shouldn't have a right to spit or to throw popcorn at another player. You shouldn't have a right to treat them like they're an animal at the zoo. I mean, you shouldn't treat animals at the zoo badly regardless, but you shouldn't treat them like you're looking at them at the zoo. You shouldn't play or toy with them because, again, at the end of the day, they're humans and they're doing their job. Now, I really did not like the incident in any of the incidents that happened this week to a couple of players because it's really disrespectful, and it really shows how bad it is or how serious some people treat this sport. Again, at the end of the day, it's just basketball. They're making their money, and you want to watch them play. I understand some fans who heckle players and say like, hey, you're not going to make this shot, or you can't make it. You see it all the time in the park, right? When you go to the park, you see people say, oh, you're not going to make that shot, or no, you're not going to, no, you can't make that. And that's fun. That's what drives the players. But when you decide to spit or throw your food at someone, it's really disrespectful because what do you do when you spit? You spit towards the floor, right? So when you're spitting at another player, you're basically saying that they're worse than the floor because that's where you throw your spit. And when you throw your food at Russell Westbrook, you throw your food in the trash, but you're throwing it at him. So you're calling him a trash can in a sense. And again, don't even get me started with Utah. I mean, that's just, you shouldn't say anything to anyone like that at all. So my thing is, I'm a person that when I go to basketball games, I'm always in the back, right? Because those are my cheap seats and the players can't hear me from back there. And again, I love to cheer. I don't really like to boo because Again, it's a game of basketball. These guys are making millions of dollars. Who am I? I'm just making YouTube videos. But I think it's really disrespectful, and you shouldn't feel entitled to do all those crazy things just because you're sitting courtside, just because you're sitting close to them. Me, if I was sitting close, even if I'm not a huge fan of Derrick Rose, but I'd love to take a picture with Derrick Rose just to say, hey, I took a picture with Derrick Rose. So that's what I would be doing if I was sitting front row. I'd be wanting to wait to the end of the game to hopefully get one of their pairs of shoes or to do that. I'm not over there trying to spit or trying to throw negative words at anyone. So I just think that those incidents, and I'm glad that the NBA took care of those fans, because there's no place for that anywhere in general. And I think that, you pay that much money, enjoy the game, eat your popcorn, try to ask for a picture at the end of the game. Don't go into that stuff because at the end of the day, it's just basketball. And again, they're getting paid millions of dollars and you're paying to watch them. So there's got to be a common ground here. And I'm glad that the NBA banned those fans for life. And there's no place for that. And I just really wanted to give my opinion on that because I like watching basketball, but I don't like watching that. I don't like watching the violence in sports. I really don't like watching the fights. I really don't like watching the bad stuff in sports, especially basketball, because I just want to watch the game. I just want to watch players play, and that's fun for me. I don't really like all that other stuff. So that's my opinion on that segment. Okay, shifting gears to my preseason predictions and how the predictions actually ended up. So with the Western Conference, I was out of the 8 playoff teams in the Western Conference, I was 6 out of 8 correct. Now, again, I had Houston in the playoffs because I still thought James Harden would be in the playoffs. And again, I knew that James Harden wasn't happy in the playoff, or wasn't happy in the Houston Rockets, but I thought maybe he'd suck it up and just kind of play that entire season and then, kind of get traded in the offseason. But I had Houston as the 8th seed. That obviously ended up not happening. And I had Golden State as the 4th seed. Now, again, this was before Klay Thompson got hurt and so forth. So I originally had Golden State the 4th seed and Houston the 8th seed. And I thought that, again, they would make the playoffs and it'd be awesome and everything. But again, those 2 teams I got wrong. Golden State just missed the playoffs with the play-in tournament. And I also thought Utah wasn't going to make the playoffs because I thought after their bubble run, they were just going to kind of regress and, not be as competitive because of, kind of an emotional playoff run. But they ended up being the 1st seed, so I was a little bit wrong on that. And also Memphis made the playoffs as well. I was right on OKC finishing dead last, so, I'm going to hang my hat on that. But anyways, shifting gears to the Eastern Conference, of the playoff teams, I was 5 of 8 correct. I had Toronto making the playoffs, I had Orlando making the playoffs, and I had Chicago making the playoffs. Now, again, I thought Orlando would keep all their players and they'd stay healthy. Obviously, that didn't happen. They traded away all their guys, and they kind of tanked after that. Also, Toronto, I didn't expect them to start off that bad. I didn't expect that Ibaka would leave at the time. I knew Marc Gasol was probably going to leave or whatnot, but I thought that they were going to make the playoffs. And again, this is way before, I think this was still going on during the NBA Finals back in October. So I had these different ideas on all these teams. So, and I also thought Chicago was going to make a push for the playoffs because they got Billy Donovan. So I thought they were going to make the playoffs, but apparently they didn't. So who did actually make the playoffs were Atlanta, New York, and Washington. So, and I had New York and Atlanta finishing 13th and 14th in their conference. So I was a little bit dead wrong on those. But for the most part, I got 5 of the 6 playoff, or 5 of the 8 playoff teams correct. I did better in the Western Conference. Again, I know a little bit more about the Western Conference than I do about the Eastern Conference for obvious reasons. But those are my playoff predictions. I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm going to pat myself on the back for, in total, let's see, I got 6, 5, for being 11 of 16 correct. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back because, again, it's hard to predict the preseason because when you predict, you're assuming that everybody's going to be healthy. So, obviously that wasn't the case. But again, I'm really, really happy with how I predicted. I was pretty good. I mean, I got the good teams correct. So that's all you really need. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed that segment. I'm not as bad as an NBA fan as you think because, again, as you can see, 11 of 16. It's a pretty good percentage to be, especially with, not knowing how injuries are going to go. So hope you enjoyed that segment. So before I get into the segment of is Ja Morant better than the rest, I just want to give a quick shout out to my 6th grade class. I know the school year ended pretty crazy, but you guys got through it. So I'm proud of you guys and shout out to you. Okay, so in the intro, I asked the question. I said, is Ja Morant better than the rest? Now, when I say better than the rest, I meant to say better than the players in his draft class, better than the players that were drafted this past year, and better than the players that were drafted, a draft before him. Now, Ja Morant has been spectacular. He's been special. He's been amazing. And I know he doesn't get a lot of hype because his game's pretty quiet. He has gotten a lot of hype for the almost dunk that almost happened to he almost happened to do to Kevin Love. So, in my opinion, I think Ja Morant is better than those peers that were a year before him, a year after him, and in the same year as him. Because he's currently leading the Memphis Grizzlies, who really have guys that no one knows, to the playoffs. He led them to the play-in tournament. Everyone expected them to win the first game, but no one expected them to beat Golden State or even the possibility of facing the Lakers. But he somehow ends up getting to the playoffs, stunning the Utah Jazz in game 1. And then game 2, scoring 47 points. Now, again, this is a guy who's his second year in the league, who went to Murray State, who wasn't really considered much of a high prospect, kind of made a name for himself. He's the definition, in my opinion, of really proving them wrong, because he's been playing spectacular. He's been quiet. He's been humble. And he's just playing out of his mind. And for him to be in the same draft class as Zion, who everyone is saying is just amazing, and for Zion to not even make the play-in tournament, and for Ja to make the play-in tournament and to make the playoffs and stun the number 1 seed Utah Jazz at Utah, now that's a pretty big task. And that shows you how much of a talent he truly is. He's, in my opinion, of players under 21 or under 25, Luka's number 1, he's number 2, because he's just proved it and proved it and proved it over and over and over again. And he's playing, and again, I know Memphis is ultimately going to lose the series because they just don't have enough firepower to face Utah, and I think Ja Morant's a little too young and a little too inexperienced compared to Utah. But again, just showing this playoff run. Like last year, Luka Doncic showing off in the playoff run, and now this year just playing out of his mind. I think that's what's going to happen to Ja Morant. He's going to take another leap next year, and he's going to have a better year in Memphis. And Memphis is actually going to compete in the Western Conference for the top 6 seeds. So again, Ja Morant has been playing out of his mind. He was my favorite draft pick in 2019, and he's just been playing out of his mind. And again, I'm a huge fan of Ja Morant. I might invest in a jersey of his. But again, he's playing better than most of his peers that were drafted a year before him, the same year, or a year after him. And again, I just love it because, again, it's proving my point right that Ja Morant was the best player in Zion's draft. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Keep up with the show by clicking the subscribe button to get the latest from the show. Also, turn on the notifications to know when a new episode is posted. Thank you.